Genesis chapter 36 and 37, starting with 36, Esau's descendants. This is the account of the family line of Esau, that is Edom. Esau took his wives from the women of Canaan, Adah, daughter of Elon the Hittite, and Aholibama, daughter of Anah, and granddaughter of Zibeon the Hivite, also Basemath, daughter of Ishmael, and sister of Nebaioth. Adah bore Eliphaz to Esau, Basemath bore Reuel, and Aholibama bore Jush, Jalam, and Korah. These were the sons of Esau who were born to him in Canaan. Esau took his wives and daughters, his wives and sons and daughters, and all the members of his household, as well as his livestock and all his other animals and all the goods he had acquired in Canaan, and moved to a land some distance from his brother Jacob. Their possessions were too great for them to remain together. The land where they were staying could not support them both because of their livestock. So Esau, that is Edom, settled in the hill country of Seir. This is the account of the family line of Esau, the father of the Edomites in the hill country of Seir. These are the names of Esau's sons: Eliphaz, the son of Esau's wife Adah, and Reuel, the son of Esau's wife Basemath, the sons of Eliphaz, Teman, Omar, Zepho, Gatam, and Kenaz. Esau's son Eliphaz also had a concubine named Timnah, who bore him Amalek. These were grandsons of Esau's wife Adah. The sons of Reuel, Nahath, Zerah, Shema, and Mizah. These were grandsons of Esau's wife Basemath. The sons of Esau's wife Aholibama, daughter of Anah and granddaughter of Zibeon, whom she bore to Esau: Jush, Jalam, and Korah. These were the chiefs among Esau's descendants. The sons of Eliphaz, the firstborn of Esau, chiefs Teman, Omar, Zepho, Kenaz, Korah, Gatam, and Amalek. These were the chiefs descended from Eliphaz and Edom. They were grandsons of Adah. The sons of Esau's son Reuel, chiefs Nahath, Zerah, Shema, and Mizah. These were the chiefs descended from Reuel and Edom. They were grandsons of Esau's wife Basemath. The sons of Esau's wife Aholibama, chiefs Jush, Jalam, and Korah. These were the chiefs descended from Esau's wife Aholibama, daughter of Anah. These were the sons of Esau, that is Edom, and these were their chiefs. These were the sons of Seir the Horite, who were living in the region: Lotan, Shabal, Zibeon, Anah, Dishon, Ezer, and Dishon. These sons of Seir and Edom were Horite chiefs. The sons of Lotan, Hori and Homim. Timnah was Lotan's sister. The sons of Shabal, Alvan, Manahath, Ebal, Shevo, and Onem. The sons of Zibeon, Aiah, and Anah. This is the Anah who discovered the hot springs in the desert while he was grazing the donkeys of his father Zibeon. Vulgate Syriac discovered water. The meaning of the Hebrew for this word is uncertain. The children of Anah, Dishon and Aholibama, daughter of Anah. The sons of Dishon, Hemdan, Eshban, Ithran, and Kiran. The sons of Ezer, Bilhan, Zavan, and Akan. The sons of Dishon, Uz, and Aran. These were the Horite chiefs: Lotan, Shabal, Zibeon, Anah, Dishon, Ezer, and Dishon. These were the Horite chiefs, according to their divisions in the land of Seir, the rulers of Edom. These were the kings who reigned in Edom before any Israelite king reigned. Bela, son of Beor, became king of Edom. His city was named Dinhaba. When Bela died, Jobab, son of Zerah from Basra, succeeded him as king. When Jobab died, Husham from the land of the Temanites succeeded him as king. When Husham died, Hadad, son of Bedad, who defeated Midian in the country of Moab, succeeded him as king. His city was named Avith. When Hadad died, Samlah from Masreka succeeded him as king. When Samlah died, Shaul from Rehoboth on the river succeeded him as king. When Shaul died, Baal-Hanan, son of Akbor, succeeded him as king. When Baal-Hanan, son of Akbor, died, Hadad succeeded him as king. His city was named Pa, and his wife's name was Mehetabel, daughter of Matred, the daughter of Mizahab. These were the chiefs descended from Esau by name, according to their clans and regions: Timnah, Alva, Japheth, Aholibama, Ella, Penan, Kenaz, Teman, Mibzar, Magdiel, and Iram. These were the chiefs of Edom, according to their settlements in the land they occupied. This is the family line of Esau, the father of the Edomites. Chapter 37, Joseph's dream. Now we're getting into Joseph's part of the story. Jacob lived in the land where his father had stayed, the land of Canaan. This is the account of Jacob's family line. Joseph, a young man of 17, was tending the flocks with his brothers, the sons of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives, and he brought their father a bad report about them. Now, Israel loved Joseph more than any of his other sons, because he had been born to him in his old age, and he had made an ornate robe for him. When his brothers saw that their father loved him more than any of them, they hated him and could not speak a kind word to him. Joseph had a dream, and when he told it to his brothers, they hated him all the more. He said to them, "Listen to this dream I had. We were binding sheaves of grain out in the field when suddenly my sheaf rose and stood upright, while your sheaves gathered around mine and bowed down to it." His brothers said to him, Do you intend to reign over us? Will you actually rule us? And they hated him all the more because of his dream and what he had said. Then he had another dream, and he told it to his brothers. "Listen," he said, "I had another dream, and this time the sun and moon and 11 stars were bowing down to me." When he told his father, as well as his brothers, his father rebuked him and said, "What is this dream you had? Will your mother and I and your brothers actually come and bow down to the ground before you?" His brothers were jealous of him, but his father kept the matter in mind. Joseph sold by his brothers. Now his brothers had gone to graze their father's flock near Shechem, and Israel said to Joseph, "As you know, your brothers are grazing the flocks near Shechem. Come, I am going to send you to them." "Very well," he replied. So he said to him, "Go and see if all is well with your brothers and with the flocks, and bring word back to me." Then he sent him off from the valley of Hebron. When Joseph arrived at Shechem, a man found him wandering around in the fields and asked him, "What are you looking for?" He replied, "I'm looking for my brothers. Can you tell me where they are grazing their flocks?" "They have moved on from here," the man answered. "I heard them say, 'Let's go to Dothan.'" So Joseph went after his brothers and found them near Dothan. But they saw him in the distance, and before he reached them, they plotted to kill him. "Here comes the dreamer," they said to each other. "Come now, let's kill him and throw him into one of these cisterns and say that a ferocious animal devoured him. Then we'll see what comes of his dreams." When Reuben heard this, he tried to rescue him from their hands. "Let's not take his life," he said. "Don't shed any blood. Throw him into this cistern here in the wilderness, but don't lay a hand on him," Reuben said. This to rescue him from them and take him back to his father. So when Joseph came to his brothers, they stripped him of his robe, the ornate robe he was wearing, and they took him and threw him into the cistern. The cistern was empty. There was no water in it. As they sat down to eat their meal, they looked up and saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead. Their camels were loaded with spices, balm, and myrrh, and they were on their way to take them down to Egypt. Judah said to his brothers, "What will we gain if we kill our brother and cover up his blood? Come, let's sell him to the Ishmaelites and not lay our hands on him. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood." His brothers agreed. So when the Midianite merchants came by, his brothers pulled Joseph up out of the cistern and sold him for 20 shekels of silver to the Ishmaelites, who took him to Egypt. When Reuben returned to the cistern and saw that Joseph was not there, he tore his clothes. He went back to his brothers and said, "The boy isn't there. Where can I turn now?" Then they got Joseph's robe, slaughtered a goat, and dipped the robe in the blood. They took the ornate robe back to their father and said, "We found this. Examine it to see whether it is your son's robe." He recognized it and said, "It is my son's robe. Some ferocious animal has devoured him. Joseph has surely been torn to pieces." Then Jacob tore his clothes, put on sackcloth, and mourned for his son many days. All his sons and daughters came to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. "No," he said, "I will continue to mourn until I join my son in the grave." So his father wept for him. Meanwhile, the Midianites sold Joseph in Egypt to Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard. Chapter 36, verses 1 through 43. A major shift in the narrative is about to take place. This is indicated by means of the extended genealogy. The author gives the genealogical record of Esau as a way of closing the book on Esau and his family, just as he had done for Cain in chapter 4, Noah's sons in chapter 10, Lot in chapter 19, and Ishmael in chapter 25, as God had promised Esau's descendants would grow into a nation of his own, the Edomites in the mountains of Seir. This, however, was a nation forged after the flesh with a series of kings who promoted their own agendas. Chapter 37, verses 1 through 4. Jacob's family dysfunction continued into the next generation. This should not surprise any discerning reader. The cause of the problem in chapter 37 is a familiar one: favoritism. Israel, that is Jacob, loved Joseph more than his other sons, because Joseph was the son of his favorite wife, Rachel. Joseph was the 11th of 12 boys, which made the favoritism sting his older brothers, who surely felt passed up. So when Jacob made a long-sleeved robe for Joseph, which was a garment symbolizing the privilege of the firstborn, the sibling rivalry erupted. Joseph's brothers hated him and could not bring themselves to speak peaceably to him. Verse 5 through 9. To make matters worse, Joseph had a chip on his shoulder because he had received some notable dreams. In the first, Joseph's sheaf of grain stood up while his brother's sheaves gathered around it and bowed down to it. In the second dream, the sun, moon, and 11 stars, that is Joseph's father, mother, and 11 brothers, were bowing down to him. Joseph, being an immature 17-year-old boy, was foolish enough to brag about these dreams to his brothers, who hated him even more because of his dream. Verse 10 through 11. The interesting fact about Joseph's dreams, which we aren't told at this point in the story, is that they were prophetic. Jacob asked, "Am I and your brothers really going to come and bow down to the ground before you?" Actually, yes, Jacob, you will. God had given Joseph these dreams, and he wanted to lead Joseph to a grand destiny. But Joseph would have a lot of unexpected detours in his life before he got to that point. Without the detours, however, Joseph would never have been prepared to walk in his God-given destiny. Keep that in mind. The next time God brings an unexpected detour into your life, keep it in mind. Verse 12 through 20. Joseph's first detour came courtesy of his own family. One day when Jacob had sent Joseph to check on his brothers, they saw him in the distance and plotted to kill him. You may think you have family drama, but it doesn't get much worse than your brothers literally plotting to end your life. Joseph's brothers couldn't stand his dreams, so they wanted to ensure that they would never come true. Let's kill him, they decided, and then we can say that a vicious animal ate him. Verse 19 through 24. Fortunately for Joseph, Joseph's eldest brother Reuben stepped in to save his life. He reasoned with them, throw him into this pit in the wilderness, thinking that he could return later to rescue Joseph from them. When Joseph arrived, they stripped him of his robe and threw him into the pit, which was empty and without water. This is a reminder that God sometimes allows us to be stripped of what we love most, because he knows that things have to get worse for us before we can walk into our true destiny. Things have to be stripped off of us. We have to let things go, sometimes against our own will. But our will doesn't matter. His does. Verse 25 through 28. Joseph's fortunes had changed in a moment. He was living large like royalty until his brothers sold him for 20 pieces of silver to traveling Ishmaelites. Just like that, he became a slave. Little did he know that God was orchestrating something much bigger than he could imagine. Verse 29. Reuben, it seems, wasn't with the brothers when they sold Joseph into slavery. So when he returned to the pit and saw that Joseph was not there, he tore his clothes in despair. He had managed to save Joseph's life, but couldn't protect him completely. Verse 30 through 32. Joseph's older brothers decided to cover up their evil actions with deceit. They took Joseph's robe, slaughtered a male goat, and dipped the robe in its blood. They then presented the robe to their father Jacob. There is a certain level of irony here. Since Jacob had used goat skins to deceive his brother years before, now Jacob is deceived by animal evidence. Jacob's deceptive character had been transferred to his sons. Verse 33 through 35. Recognizing Joseph's robe, Jacob assumed that Joseph had been killed, and he mourned for his son many days. He even refused to be comforted by his other children when they tried to cheer him up, showing that Jacob's depression affected the entire family. Verse 36, just when God surely seemed absent from the perspective of Joseph and Jacob, we get a hint that he was up to something in the middle of this family disaster. God, we will soon discover, intended to bring Jacob and his sons to Egypt in order to protect them from a coming famine, and Joseph's recent departure placed him in Egypt, in the house of Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, in preparation for that time. God was setting the stage to bring about Joseph's destiny, even when no human was aware of it. And that is the end of chapters 36 and 37. The beginning of Joseph's story begins with chapter 37. We get to see all the detours that Joseph goes over the course of his life as he's getting closer to what God has in store for his destiny. And we'll eventually get into that. This is territory in Genesis, which is my favorite part of Genesis. Joseph's story in Genesis is my favorite part of Genesis. It's amazing. But next up in chapter 38, we do take a little bit of a detour, and we follow one of Joseph's other brothers, Judah, when he gets into a dicey situation, and then we pick things back up with Joseph and Potiphar's wife in chapter 39. So be sure to like and subscribe. May God bless everyone, and I will see y'all next time.